Chhatrapati Rajaram Maharaj. Maharani Tarabai in the Mughals. After the death of Sambhaji, his younger brother Rajaram received the title of Chhatrapati. Rajaram along with his commanders wanted to avenge the death of Sambhaji at Aurangzeb's hands, and therefore Shantaji Ghorpade attacked Aurangzeb and his army. Aurangzeb was saved by a margin, but his private security and bodyguards were killed. There was betrayal on the Maratha side. Sambhaji's queen and her son Shahu I were captured and kept under house arrest. Analyzing the chances of being attacked in their capital, the commanders of Rajaram insisted him to move his capital to Jinji, which was in the present state of Tamil Nadu. Rajaram was moved to the south to protect him from onslaught of the Mughals. During this difficult times in the history of the Maratha Empire, Aurangzeb sent a small army to keep a check on Rajaram. Shantaji Ghorpade and Dhanaji Jadhav attacked the small army, destroyed it. Ghorpade, Jadhav and Bavdekar were the important people who reorganized the Maratha army after the defeats in Panhala and Vishalgarh. In 1691, Bavdekar, Niranjit, Santaji, Dhanaji and several Maratha Sardars met in the Marwal region and reformed the strategy. Aurangzeb had taken 4 major forts in Sahyadri and was sending Zulfikar Khan to subdue the fort Jinji Ginji. Marathas had a plan against this attack by the Mughals. They made a two-pronged strategy. One group of army would focus on Maharashtra and the other group would focus on Mughal forts of southern Maharashtra and northern Karnataka. This would make it difficult for the Mughal army to concentrate. They also tried to control the supply of food, men or ammunitions through Surat towards south. A battle was being fought between the Marathas and the Mughals from Malwa Plateau to the east coast. Amartya and Niraji were able to give a thought fight to Mughals, so were Ghorpade and Jadhav, who defeated the Mughals. In the Battle of Athani, a noted Mughal general Qasim Khan lost. Aurangzeb now realized that the Maratha forces, which he thought would be dormant after Sambhaji's death, were actually giving a tough fight to the Mughals. Aurangzeb decided to come up with new strategies to control the Maratha power. He regrouped his army and sent an ultimatum to Zulfikar Khan to capture Jingi or lose his titles. Zulfikar Khan tightened the siege, but Rajaram escaped and was safely escorted to Deccan by Dhanaji Jadhav and the Shirke brothers. Hardik Mahadik's son was given the command of Jinji and he defended the city against Daud Khan and Zulfikar Khan. This bought enough time for Rajaram to reach Vishalgarh. After suffering huge losses, Marathas were able to capture Jinji. The Mughal army had suffered heavily on all fronts. In the meantime, there was development of rivalry amongst Jadhav and Ghorpade, who were the most important people in the court of Rajaram. They were instrumental in executing the Maratha response towards the Mughals. Dhanaji grew stronger and one of his men killed Santaji. The news of Santai's death reached the Mughals and Aurangzeb was keen to attack the Marathas once again. The Marathas were quick to regroup and began a counter-offensive. Rajaram appointed Dhanaji Jadhav as commander-in-chief. Jadhav defeated a large Mughal contingent near Pandharpur. Shankar Narayan defeated Mughals in Pune. Aurangzeb was challenged by these defeats and decided to launch an attack on Panhala and Satara. Prayagji Prabhu, a commander in the Maratha army, protected Satara for 6 months before surrounding in April 1700. In the meantime, in March 1, Rajaram had died. After the capture of Satara, Aurangzeb became very furious with his campaigns in the Deccan. He and the Mughal army thought that after the death of Chhatrapati Rajaram in the grim political struggle within the Maratha leadership, it was not possible for the Tarabai and her young son to give a tough fight for long. Aurangzeb's further conquests in the Deccan could lead a huge blow to money and men. Aurangzeb wanted to conquer deeper areas in the Maratha territory. Aurangzeb fought continuous wars in the Deccan to cause a heavy blow to the Marathas and control all of the Deccan, but instead he did not have any substantial gain. He lost his army and the Mughal coffers were emptied. In the early 1700s, the weak position of Mughal Empire was visible, and Asad Khan, Zulfikar Khan's father, tried to convince Aurangzeb to end any further wars with the Marathas. In 1704, he conquered Torana and Raigad and some other Maratha forts. It is said that Aurangzeb was able to do so by way of bribing the Maratha commanders. It took him 4 long years to do so, and then by 1705, 2 army contingents of Marathas crossed Narmada. The Marathas now wanted to launch a defensive against the Mughals towards the north. One contingent under the leadership of Nimaji Shinde reached Bhopal, and another headed by Khanderav Dadhabe reached Bharokan towards the western side. With his 8,000 men, Dabhade attacked and defeated Mahmud Khan's forces numbering almost 14,000. This left entire Gujarat coast wide open for Marathas. They immediately tightened their grip on Mughal supply chains. By 1705 end, Marathas had penetrated Mughal possession of central India and Gujarat. Nimaji Shinde defeated Mughals on the Malwa plateau. In 1706, Mughals started retreating from Maratha dominions. Aurangzeb died in February 1707. The death of Shivaji in 1674, within 8 years of ascending, was seen as a great opportunity by the Mughals to undermine the authority of the Marathas. The eldest son of Shivaji, Shamhaji, was leading after the death of his father. He was captured and killed by the Mughal army in 1689. His wife and son Shahu, who was in line to the throne, were kept in the Mughal court. The second son of Shivaji, Rajaram, who was Tarabai's husband, took over the leadership, flee from Raigad and set up a court at Satara. He died of disease in 1700, and this led to another severe blow for the Marathas. His queen Tarabai, who was daughter of a Maratha commander-in-chief, continued fighting for the next 7 years. Tarabai was the daughter-in-law of Shivaji. She was just 8 years old when she got married to Rajaram, who was the younger son of Shivaji. Tarabai saw the Mughals and the Marathas fight fiercely for supremacy over one another. It was Tarabai who became the regent to her 4-year-old son Shivaji II and installed him to the throne. She also took the control over the Maratha army as it was facing Aurangzeb, one of the mightiest rulers of the times. The Mughal army thought it was a great opportunity to end the Marathas forever, as they thought Tarabai and her infant son could not save the kingdom for long. Tarabai proved that the Mughals were wrong in assuming that she would be able to put up a fight against the Mughals for so long. She was able to stand in front of Aurangzeb for much longer than the Mughals had assumed. You will learn more about Tarabai in the next unit. After the death of Aurangzeb, the Mughal legacy, which had already started showing strains in the later years of Aurangzeb, became strongly visible. The rulers after Aurangzeb were not as strong as the earlier rulers and were categorized by historians differently as the later Mughal rulers or the weak Mughal rulers. This was seen as a very good opportunity for the Marathas to expand their dominion further north. By 1757, the Marathas had reached Delhi. The Mughal Empire was divided into a number of principalities.